Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more. Your pursuit begins now. All right, welcome back to Men Pursuing More podcast. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I want to welcome back Mitchell Kieffer, August O'Neill, Len Anderson, and Steve Oterofor to this special monthly episode, the Brotherhood Exchange. And our focus is a space where men can show up, open up, and level up. A brotherhood of men pursuing more, becoming better together as leaders in their homes, anchors in their communities, faithful in their journey, and committed to uplifting and empowering others along the way. Fellows, really, this is the theme is real talk, shared struggle, and purpose-driven growth. So I've had all four of you on, Men Pursuing More, and the listeners can check out your entire story on Men Pursuing More podcast or moppingcoaching.com. So let's start with you, August. Could you share with the listeners, since all of you, four of you, are wounded combat veterans, share a few highlights of overcoming and making progress from your experience being injured in combat?
It's been a long road for all of us, and overcoming has taken a different track for everyone. For myself personally, I had a goal of getting back to duty, went through my initial injury in 3.5 years and 20 surgeries trying to fix the leg that was injured, and then eventually ending in an amputation, and then striving to get back, going through a med board and getting returned to duty. And since then, it didn't quite go the way that I thought it was going to. I thought I'd just go right back to a team and jump into the game again. But I have slowly found that I can be gainfully employed and contribute to my career field and community in other ways. And that's what I've been doing, either by training the future or actually having to do what I never thought I would be doing, which is getting deep into doctrine and making what we do better for the future of our guys. So I'm going to keep doing it until I retire. I'm at 19 years now, and I would have hit the button had I not taken the devil's lettuce and signed a reenlistment bonus at the beginning of the year. But I'm right at the finish line here for myself as far as military career.
Okay, appreciate you sharing that. Mitchell, how about you?
Yeah, so I was wounded back in 2011. I had an EFP, explosive foam penetrating IED, go through the vehicle about 2 feet in front of my forehead, dislodge all the lights, knocked me unconscious, gave me a traumatic brain injury, and strunk me basically in the seatbelt and like an accordion, broke 10 vertebrae. I had a prestigious slot to get a master's degree in operations research and data science after that. So my current bosses kept me on the down low so they wouldn't medical board me and I could get to that next assignment. And so I did. And it was basically all the learning, day in, day out workouts of learning is what brought my cognitive senses back. And after that, I have the pituitary and adrenal glands and the hypothalamus start not working as well from a TBI. So you get all these hormone issues and you got to take everything exogenously. And it's a battle because each day you don't know how you're going to wake up. But in 2021, I ended up getting stage 4 melanoma cancer. And they gave me a 7% chance to live about 6 months. But I've beaten that. I'm over 4 years cancer free. And now just living, LIVIN.
And here you are, brother. Appreciate it. I appreciate you and know you, and I know you from back at Eastview High School. So appreciate you being on and really putting this all together. So I appreciate you. And Steve, how about you?
Yeah, I served just under 12 years. I was a combat camera guy, deployed always jointly with all the different forces. It was a wonderful, amazing job. It taught me how to be a decent human. And I spent the last 18 months of my military career in and out of hospitals. I launched on Walter Reed, the old Walter Reed, which was pretty gnarly. And since getting out, life has definitely been quite interesting. I ended up working for the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program, which is one of our 5 federally funded Wounded Warrior programs. That's really how I was able to meet all these other wonderful people that I've been able to call my friends and brothers, not really truly for life. And Yeah, I worked as hard as I could for about 3 years doing government stuff for the federal wounded warrior programs right after I got out. But I think during that time, I recognized that I needed to get away. I needed to move myself completely away from my comfort zones of the military in order to actually get better. I was drinking a lot and just doing a lot of stuff that still wasn't very helpful. So I needed to make some other lifestyle choices to actually help me get back to being where I wanted to be and performing physically again. Because I had a number of surgeries on my belly, a lot of procedures on my back, all that stuff to the core. It really weakens everything else that's attached. I moved to Colorado in 2015 and went back to school and got deeply entrenched into the outdoor community. Got so entrenched in the outdoor community, I've been involved in outdoor policy. I've been both the federal and state level, and then really focusing on school like crazy. Got a master's degree in behavioral science a couple of years ago, and have been trying to leverage the communities, academia, and local government to try to help make my county and community, my local community and county, a much better place for veterans to live, work, and play. I took a job as a veteran services officer at the county level, which is the lowest governmental level to ever provide outreach and support for military vets and our families across America. And not all 50 states have VSOs, which is something that still we're working on. We're doing our best to try to help spread the model to those that haven't necessarily adopted it yet, because we're always just going to be able to help more vets if we do a little bit more outreach in local communities, especially rural communities across America. So combining school and focusing on my lifestyle, my choices, quitting substance use in general a few years ago has been very helpful and it helped me get my mind straight. And then finding spiritual faith yet again, going out into the mountains most days feels like church to me. That's where I touch my God. And that in and of itself has really been a massive propeller to help me just make better choices, be a better dad, be a better husband.
Appreciate that, Steve. You're sharing. Len, how about you?
Mine goes in mine kind of like a spider web, man. Mine goes in so many different directions. Initially, when I got hurt back in 2012, I was kind of like August. I woke up like, all right, fix me up. Let's get back to work. And they basically were like, yeah, if you'd have lost your legs, that might be a possibility. But with you losing the fingers you lost and the dexterity or lack thereof, man, it just ain't going to happen. So I was like, okay, now what? And so now it was all about I guess I didn't take into account how serious the injuries were, how long it was going to be of recovery, learning to walk again, hell, even really learning to talk again. I had my wife at the time finishing sentences for me because I just couldn't get words out of my mouth. And I just took it step by step and just kept pushing. I like to push the envelope a little bit. You tell me I can't do something, that's probably the worst thing you could have ever done to me, is to say, hey, yeah, you probably can't do that. The only thing I did accept was I can't go back to work, because I understood it from a liability standpoint. I'm a realist. I get it. Nobody's going to want to put their lives in my hand or lack thereof. It's just nature of the beast. You be careful what you wish for, because that's all I ever want to do is go fight. And I still want to go fight. And I can't. So I'm slowly learning to curb that emotion. I don't think it ever August knows, like, they don't die. Once you touch it, it's a drug that you can never replace. And it's a brotherhood you can never replace, especially in this, what I call the simplest of times. Because to me, chaos, war, that whole deal was calm. That was my peace. And picking out cereal in a grocery store, to me, is chaos. It's just, I don't know if I'm wired differently. If I'm surrounded by my dudes, yeah, I can get away with doing anything. But ultimately, like, it was the bigger purpose that gave me the drive. And so without that, I had to learn how to replace that. And I do it in many different manners. Gym, I like to grind myself to the bone. As far as anything, like they were talking about doing the Grand Canyon trip, I don't ever think, are we going to finish it? I just like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do it. Because I know we're going to finish it. It's just mind over matter, mind over the body. My buddy used to always say things like, my body hates me, or my body hates my mind, because I'm going to make my body do it anyway. And I heard that probably 20, 30 years ago, and it's always stuck with me. And I've always used that to fuel me. And yeah, from there, it was just getting better. I had to rebuild myself from the bottom up. It started with, hey, how do we get myself ready for the gym? All right, do this. All right, now we're lifting again. How do I get myself ready for the next step? Softball. These are things that I could vent outside of the military without having to worry about necessarily dealing with the big military life. I spent my first 2-3 years waiting on a surgery, so I kind of went back to my job. And what I found out was the military had changed a little bit since I'd been out of it. I hate to use the word soft because I'm sure they're not, in some ways, they're not as soft as we think they are. But I felt like I was going to get in a lot more trouble trying to teach students than I would actually teaching the students because I was a very aggressive person. I was having a hard time, and Steve and August can probably tell you better than I can. I was having a very hard time controlling the aggression. And it took a lot of work to learn to bite my tongue a lot. So the building process for me was a lot physical and it was a lot mental. But I use sports. I like being a jack of all trades, like talking about Steve and going up in the mountains. I like to be able to do a little bit of everything. So what I did was I used it as a learning tool. So pretty much anything that I couldn't do physically, I would try to figure out how to do it physically. And if I couldn't figure out how to do it mentally, I would watch YouTube or do something, and always trying to like build myself to be something better so that when that new purpose comes that's bigger than myself, I'm ready to push the button or ready to take the leap on it. But I still struggle with it to this day. Physically, yeah, I'm about as repaired or fixed as I'm going to be, but still working on the mental game a little bit. And it's something that still strives me to this day. A lot of it, I look at it like just trying to be a better father than I was to begin with, because I was really married to the life. I hate to say it now, but I would have chose the life over the family at that point in time. It's not, I'm ashamed to say that, but at the same time, I think that's what it took to be good at that life. So now I'm just trying to focus on the home life and still getting better mentally every day.
Well, I appreciate that, Len, and all of you just talking about just your humbleness and also just being truthful. Just people need to be spoken the truth. And I just appreciate you, all of you sharing that. This could be just right there, could just be one podcast episode, just what the four of you just shared.
Yeah, I could go on a tangent sometimes, but I think I got hit in the head a little harder than I realized. And if I don't have notes in front of me or something, I can shoot off on. So it's okay. Tell me, shut up.
No, that was all good. No, I appreciate it. This right leads into, and you shared this, Len, and all of you shared a little bit of it, just going from the military life into kind of like the civilian life. And kind of ties into this next question about the Pineapple Group and how important that is. I just think like the Brotherhood Exchange, how we can just really build each other up and empower and just uplift each other and be there for each other. And so let's start with you, Mitchell. Just share with, I know a few of you shared on your podcast and when I did the episode on with each one of you about the Pineapple Group, but share with us so I have all of you together. I know there is a few more. Share with the listeners about the Pineapple Group, like how it was formed, how it got its name, and the purpose of it today. So give all of you kind of opportunity to share.
Yeah, so we started doing these Air Force Wounded Warrior games, training camps, as well as the games themselves. And we started getting a lot of camaraderie. That's where I met Steve. Steve was the first one I met at the bar, the first day of one of those camps, and we just started talking. But as these camps went along, we all formed this clicker group that had a lot of differentiators, but we all had the same personalities too. So it really clicked. And we were out in Hawaii when we were at a banquet for this one event, and there's a pineapple on the table. And I think we've got a number of different ideas on who bit the pineapple first, but I say I did because I used to be eating raw potatoes like an apple. And that was because I needed to get calories in as I was an athlete or a professional triathlete at the time. And I took it and I grabbed it and then we passed it around. August thinks he did it. I don't think so. but what that born into us was basically a brotherhood of all of us taking that initiation and saying, I'm going to be there for you. You're going to be there for me. And to this day, we have this WhatsApp conversation that's going on. And when we're at these camps and with these people, we don't feel like we're being judged. And if I go out in public, I don't have any injuries from the outside. So I feel judged if I talk about any of it. But everyone else in the program and in our pineapple group just understands right away the intricacies of what you're going through and what you need to hear. You can't really put all of it on your wife or on your kids because they can't help you much in that direction. But having a good group of fellows and females that we have going on in this group is we can ask the tough questions and not feel like we're being judged.
I think this leads right into August because he's going, hey, I want to be next. I want to kind of give some input. So August, you're up next.
Oh, man. I will say I'll give him a small benefit of the doubt in the fact that admittedly there was alcohol floating around that night. It was Hawaii and we were all sitting. So there's no wonder why there's many versions of how that story started. There was a pineapple on our table.
And you can't eat it raw.
And you can't eat it raw. So the initial comment was, it's called an apple. Do you guys think that you can eat a pineapple completely just through the rind? And the resounding answer was no, except for Mitch and I. And then I took a bite of the pineapple and Mitch grabbed it and he took a bite of the pineapple. I'm going to hold that. Although, like I said, there was a lot of alcohol, so Mitch might have taken the bite first. But I remember it. And then it became like everybody at this table has to take a bite through the rind. And we were like, we went a little deep into it because at first it was, we just have to make a circle around this pineapple. And then it ended in us eating the entire pineapple, which may have been a little bit of a testament to our drive to doing things all the way. But yeah, that was the night that sealed the pineapple as our mascot. And then, yeah, I mean, we just had become very close during that trip in general. We all knew each other and would gravitate toward each other during camps before that. But on that one, we really just came together and like we were doing outside trips outside of the events, the sports events, going hiking and doing all kinds of things. We went fishing and there was a scuba diving thing at one point that some of us went to. And so that trip just solidified us as a group, the pineapple kind of culminating it. It was like the crown on top of us. And then the night in Vegas when I was going to go get my tattoo touched up and Sarah was like, I'll come with you. And so we went and in my tattoo artist's kitchen, because she was like, my shop's closed, but I'll take you. I've known her for years. Just come over to my house. And I was like, all right, cool. And she had the whole setup sterile. And Sarah and I were just like, we should get a pineapple tattoo. And then we immediately ran to the bar where these guys were at. And I think, Len, you were there. Mitch, were you there on that one? No,
it was me and Gideon.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we immediately ran to them. We're like, look what we did. And then it just became oh my goodness.
We
still had the original template.
We went to the same woman's kitchen that night.
They went to, I sent them all over to Britt's house and they all got it done while they were there. And then slowly we integrated the rest of us wherever we could catch up and pass on the template because it's the same drawing for all of us. And then that person would go. But the deal is one of us has to be with you when you go get it, if we can make that happen. Yeah. And that's our origin story.
All right, let's Len, what would you like to add to it and about this pineapple story? And then how do you stay connected? I think you should.
Honestly, to me, it just represents like a sign of strength. I know when I go other places and I wear like the pineapple thing or they'll see the tattoo, I always get that because we all know what the universal tattoo is upside down. And so I do get the weird questions. Yeah, Steve, you're in the snow. You have a shirt on all the time. People don't see your tattoo. And I have gotten people be like, what's up with the pineapple tattoo? So it draws attention, but to me, it represents like a sign of strength because I think we were all pretty, and I'm not going to use the word broken, but we were all pretty bent in our own ways. And that group at that point in time in our lives, especially, just straightened us all out. It was the group we could count on to hold us accountable. It is the group we could count on to motivate us. It was a group we could count on to talk about the injuries or the illness. And like you said, not feel judged. And I say it was like, it's not still, we still talk to this day. So it's still a group that we don't miss a beat. But even 10, 15 years ago when we started this thing, I haven't seen these guys in a year, and we could pick up tomorrow like we never stopped hanging out. And that's a very rare thing that I've only really ran across in the military. It's with the Brotherhood. So it caveats back to the military brotherhood, and it just gives us a non-judgmental outlet to speak our mind, whether we're right, whether we're wrong, and we can count on each other to tell us that. Hey, man, you probably want to step back and think about this situation, or yeah, we're down. We're all in for it. Because let's face it, like Mitch was talking about going out and being judged and stuff. Yeah, he doesn't have the physical injuries that everybody sees, but the guys that do, we get stared at all the time. And I know for me, if there was a guy coming up to me that was an amputee asking for something or needing something, I'm going to probably unintentionally deal with him probably with more kid gloves than I would a normal human being. I'm not going to, because I recognize the struggle. And so I'm not going to be real abrupt in their face with things. You need to do that. You need to do that. We will with each other. We don't really care. And I think that's a very unique trait that didn't necessarily carry out through the entire Wounded Warrior programs that we were in. And I think that's why we had a lot of jealousy going on, man. Like a lot of people wanted to be a part of this thing within the thing. But if you didn't get in, you didn't get in. It wasn't like a cult or something that we were trying to keep people in and out of. It was just one of those things like you can fit in. If you don't, I'm sorry, you don't. It's not personal. It's just we thrive together better than we do alone. And we recognize that. And so to me, that's what it symbolizes is the brotherhood that we used to have in the military. We found a very similar brotherhood outside of the military to continue on in our lives outside of the military, which is rare because not everybody gets that. Not everybody's on a team like August where he's got guys coming over and the wives cooking the meals for the guys that are hurt and everybody's tight knit and all that. No, there wasn't. In the dog career field, you're a loner the whole time. You're a loner when you're out working with these guys and doing I don't know half the guys I got injured with. So you don't have a team by your bed or guys that are treating you the same way you were before you were hurt. And with these guys, we did. So it was a thing that I think Steve could recognize. To be honest with you, a lot of us could recognize because a lot of us just don't have that team aspect August has when they're going over there doing these things. And you find out real quick when you get out that if you didn't have that team, that close-knit team, it's dust. So it helps.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, let's go. Steve, what would you like to add to it? And then also, can you share with us how you communicate? Because it sounds like there's a number of you. So you got to find a way, like a platform or something where you communicate or, hey, we're going to talk at this time or.
Well, first of all, I thought I joined a swingers cult. So I'm upset right now. If that's not what I'm a part of, the ability for any human to have a group, to share potentially our most vulnerable moments with is, I think, one of the greatest sources of strength, right? Our brains are wired to be tribal, right? This culture that we all exist in is highly tribal. And that's an old concept, right? Whether I'm wearing a green hat or a yellow hat, we feel stronger when we're part of a group, right? It's just pretty natural. And when we have some like minds come together with like humor and a general affinity for the same concepts. I was a very aggressive human. I appreciated being around other very aggressive humans. I was a solo service provider when I was in the military. I was an embed. I would travel from team to team, depending on what different commanders in an area of operations wanted or needed from the combat camera guy. And so I felt very alone at the end of my military time, very. And to have been then offered an opportunity while I was still struggling to go and work with other fellow wounded vets, it sounded like a dream job, and it was. But I think even the things that brought us together initially, having a good time, that brought us together, that truly brought us together. Going to have a good time with some generally like-minded people. For me to truly get better, I had to reassess. I quit drinking booze back in 2018, and that was probably the best thing I could have ever done for my own brain, just because of the type of personality that I am. there's some of it really feels ingrained. And so instead of staying an aggressive man, I've become a quiet, much more passive man. And that has just helped me approach the world much, much differently. I have two 13-year-old children at home. They help keep me accountable because I want to be the best person I can be for them every time I interact with them. I'm not trying to show them the type of man that I wouldn't want them to be around out there in the world. And so even in my worst moments, knowing that I have a group of other people, both men and women in our Pineapple crew, knowing that I have a group of people that I can immediately share, hey, you know what? I just experienced one of my worst moments. Here it is. Here I am. Open to judgment, but knowing that 100% of the time I'm actually going to get support. Judgment will come because feedback's good and feedback helps us make good decisions, right? I always love I have a personal board of directors, right? And the Pineapple crew is absolutely representative on that personal board of directors for me. I share successes and I share failures. And I know that no matter what, there's a crew of humans that are willing to share their mind with me, but also generally just always be supportive in whatever way that needs to happen, whether it's tough love support or raucous, joyous, we're throwing the biggest party ever support. Both occur and both are needed. And thankfully, we do have technology, right? Technology. I'm the first person who will throw my cell phone away the moment I actually stop working, which I don't know if that'll ever actually happen in my lifetime, but I despise cell phones. I despise the challenges, even with the successes that it's brought us. I despise the challenges that the internet has injected into society because I think it's helped create more silos of humans. And whenever humans become siloed off, our tribalism is expressed oftentimes in some of the most negative ways that we are human. And I'm a humanist first, especially because of all my time at war, watching tiny little humans, babies, children, being removed from their homes after being deceased in a war zone. That sort of stuff it absolutely leaves an impression on a person, right, forever. And it changed my view of the world and how I approach everyone else. Some good, some bad. But again, the Pineapple crew helps me understand as long as I'm willing to share, right? We have to be willing to be vulnerable with each other. But as long as I'm willing to share, this team will always provide the best support for a guy like me.
Amazing insight, all four of you. And I think about this Pineapple group you have. How many others out there that need a group like this? They need a support group. They go this one person, they go to a friend, they go and people that just don't understand them. They find a group where they can throw things off and really their relation in a good way, but they're also going to be these friends or this group is going to be truthful to them. I'm going to be bold with them instead of, oh yeah, it's not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And I think that's hard for a lot of people and what you need to actually hear in a loving way, but also what you need to actually hear. Any others that want to add to it? Len, looks like you like to share something else.
Oh, no, I was just unmuting. No, I don't really. I do find it funny that we were all pretty forged it, I think, originally through winning. And what I mean by that is, and I don't mean this as a diss to anyone we competed against, we were usually the ones winning a lot of these events that we were in or coming in pretty high up there. And I think that kind of is what initially we're like, all right, like me and August, we would swim against each other. That was our practice and we would compete. So really the competition, I think, really bred a lot of it into us. We almost saw like in some ways, a more athletic version of ourselves or maybe the vice versa. We can use this person to push us. And then it came. So it wasn't like one of these things that just we all met up at one little thing and it started. We all trickled in together. I think I met August first and Gideon first, and we would three hang out and then we'd bring another person along. So it wasn't something that was just bred overnight. It was probably 3, 4, 5 of these events that we had to take the step on our own and put ourselves out there to show up. And we didn't know nobody when we were getting there. And especially on the Air Force side, not a lot of people are combat injured. Me and August and a couple of the other guys were Steve, and we were a little different. We had been hardened, I guess you could say, from combat to an extent. And our expectations of succeeding, winning competition were high. We weren't just so I think that competition is what bred a lot of the strength into us, and then it allowed us to be vulnerable. So it wasn't like we were just like, hey, man, you look like a good guy to talk to. It's not really how it worked. We had to go through some shit talking and some beating our chest and doing the man thing first to figure out that, oh, we're brothers here. But so I don't want people to think that this was just something that we saw each other and it came together. It's something that you do got to step outside of your comfort zone and got to take that step. Like we did when we joined the military, you got to take that leap of faith. And I had no idea. The whole reason I was going there was to kick everybody's ass. I didn't intend on making friends. I didn't intend on doing that. My whole thing was, I'm a good athlete. I'm going to go show these guys how good of an athlete I am. And this grew from it. And I actually wound up walking away from that and keeping these friends. So I traded one for the other. So it was for all these people out there that you were talking about that are listening, you still got to take that leap of faith. You still got to take that step that sent you on that direction and just trust a process. I don't care what process it is. Pick a process and run with it. And I think that's how you wind up with a good group of friends like this.
Okay, so do you want to add to it?
Yeah, it's exactly what Len said just there. We for sure, it wasn't a love at first sight type of meeting for any of us. And we did kind of onesie twosies. Steve and Sarah were friends. I knew Sarah, but I wasn't like, we weren't like tight. But Steve knew all of us because he worked with AFW2. So he inherently had to speak to us, whether he liked people or not, which is God bless him for having that skill. And
remember
so
how professional he used to be?
Yeah, exactly. He was super like, hey, he's always been the person to bring people into stuff. And so my outlook, like I'd say it, and every time I give a resiliency speech and all that kind of stuff is, I have been bred by a career field of you're a pipe hitter, you are the top of the top, you do what you do and nobody else can do it, and you're a friggin' warrior. And so my first event that I went to, I solely went to it after AFW2 chasing me down for about a year and a half. I solely went to it because it was a free trip to Vegas where my team was, and I just wanted to get back and see my team.
I did it for training. I did it for dog training.
And I got there and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm looking around at all these wounded warriors, and there were a lot of people there that had wounds that I couldn't see because I didn't understand. And so I 100% I judged. I was like, why am I here? I segregated myself, kept myself secluded. But like we are all saying, end of the day, we inherently are social creatures. Like you need to have a bond with people. And so I would sit there and start listening to people's stories that they were telling, sitting next to me on the bleachers or whatever between rounds. I mean, during the events, I'm a team player. I'll never let my team down. I'll crush it to the best of my ability, and I will be a team player. But on the outsides, I was like, you guys are all a bunch of fakers. This is crap. But then I started listening to their stories. I realized that all these people, no matter what they look like physically, were going through the exact type of things that I was going through, like the same struggles with their families, their old groups of friends that didn't understand what they were going through. They would just give them the, oh, that sucks kind of responses, problems with addictions to all of the opioids that they have been on, problems with issues with hospitals not doing what they needed them to do, being med boarded, already been med boarded, all kinds of things. So once I realized that, like I allowed myself to humble the hell down, get involved with these people, start talking to them like basic human beings, and just be like, let me meet you where you're at and figure out what's going on with you before I sit here and say you're not shit because you're not a warrior. And I apologize for swearing, but that's where my mentality was. And it was these events and people like this on this podcast right now that allowed me to humble myself and come up with my life mantra, which is you're only responsible for the level of life that you've lived. It doesn't matter what the worst thing that's happened to you, whether it is a deadly disease, whether it is a car accident, whether it is being blown up or friggin' being shot, whatever that is, if it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, it's going to affect you at the exact same level as the worst thing that's ever happened to something else, because you don't know that extra level, like you've never been there. So this is mentally going to be the exact same. And once I started briefing myself with that, I've learned to accept people. Look at us, like we've got a intel officer, we've got a combat camera, a dog guy, friggin' PJ. We have Sarah, who's finance. Like we've got people from all walks of life that if you walked around a base, these people would never have interacted except to get whatever job they needed.
Well,
done.
PJs. You guys
Yeah.
like to play veterinarian every once in a while.
Yeah,
Y'all notice what he did
we
there,
gotta
right?
save.
You guys
Hey.
notice what he did there. He started himself up as I'm the tip of the spear, and he brought himself down to our level. Y'all see that, right? Y'all, this is what we got to deal with within the pineapples. Is
All I'm saying, Len, is
PJ,
because I knew that you would never be able to come to my level, I had to bring myself down.
See, but Combat Camera visits everybody. I've seen
That's
every
100%,
video
which
all over, bro.
I was going to jump on that train. That's what I was saying. It was almost the perfect position for you in AFW2 because, like, you had to visit all the people and bring us together. Combat Camera, you had to do it and bring your experience from all different types of teams to a team.
We ruined Steve, by the way. I just want y'all to know that Steve was a very professional.
By the suit and tie wearing stiff.
He was very professional. And then after about one weekend with us, the tie came down. Hair gel went back in a little bit.
I think we fixed Mitch a little bit too, because Mitch was I am the super athlete and I'm
ultimate champion.
He was the ultimate champion. Let's face it, like Mitch was the one winning all the medals.
You could see the coverage on his booty.
Remember, his booty. Remember every dinner we went to, can I get a creme brulee?
Creme brulee. Still do.
And why?
See, look at that. But now Mitch understands that there are a little bit less than humans physically, so he can speak to us on a normal level as well.
You know what? This is what the listeners want to hear, called the Brotherhood Exchange. I started off, I said the real talk. So whatever comes out, people just need to hear the truth, but the real one, hear the struggles and hear just kind of reality, instead of like just trying to, for the listeners to hear what they want to hear. No, it's what they need to hear. And that's why they come here, and why they're going to come and listen to you guys. This pineapple, that could just be another episode. We pretty much created like 2 episodes. Let's move on to, got another question. Let's start with you, Steve. What would the older you tell the younger you? And I'm getting deep here. What would the older you tell the younger you?
Relax. Yeah. Relax. It's all going to happen no matter what. The days are going to pass, and time is a force we cannot fight. I was a very high-strung individual. I did not have any defined outlets for myself when I was young. I wrapped myself up in my job. My job was everything. My job was my identity, my life, my pleasure, my pain. The data out there that we can find, like the people like me, people who do the job that I do in veteran services, right? We try our best to understand the long-term outcomes of the communities that we serve. And a lot of military members, police officers, firefighters, other uniformed services around the country, individuals, anybody who's involved in first response, if you do a career in it, we're just a lot more likely to die shortly after we retire. It's just a general trend. Unfortunately, we're starting to see a little bit of break in that trend now. But there has been a really long-standing, like multi-decade trend of many of us taking off a uniform, and 3 to 5 years later, we're dead. And I wonder if that has to do with losing that deep sense of purpose, because our bodies tend to start to shut down when we lose our sense of purpose. And younger self, relax. It's okay. But also maybe explore a few other things that give you some purpose. Go fishing a little more. Go hiking a little more. Go play around in the water a little more, whether it's an ocean or a river. Go play, right? I think maybe that's a better word. Maybe that helps sum it up better, right? Relax and go play a little more. Be willing to. We all come from very serious professions, serious jobs. I understand that and fully respect it. But we can still make time for play. And there needs to be some space in a human's world for play.
We all need to go out and play a little bit, huh? How about you, Mitch?
I'd tell my younger self, basically, forget shame. That was one thing that really was a part of my life. And after all this happened, I wanted to be the best of the best in everything. And I wanted to be looked as the best of everything. But I wasn't feeling internally that anymore. And it was causing this cognitive dissonance. And it was wearing me down quite a bit. So I realized it was just the shame that I had to open up and say what's actually on my mind, to say that, hey, I do need help, or I'm not perfect. I need. That was a big thing for me. So it's an ever growing or ever ending process, basically, because I'll find myself in those situations again, but then I'll go to our WhatsApp group and that'll help me out in those terms again. Being able to talk about things that don't make you Superman is tough, but it's not needed. There's not many people really care about it, and it just keeps you tethered to a string that you don't want to be tethered to. So you can't really be free and work on your next purpose if you're still worried about what people are going to think of you, or they're going to find out, like imposter syndrome, stuff like that.
But it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about the pineapple group, just the strength behind that and how impactful that is. There's the pineapple group. How about you, August? The older you would share with the younger you.
Yeah, so many things. That's the literal, you wish if you could do one thing when you go back. Yeah, I think I hate to be the stereotypical, but I'll take a bit of everybody's answer that I know everybody's going to say. I'd tell myself not to take everything so seriously. I'd tell myself to learn, but not fully take to heart all the lessons that, because you have those lessons that you think are, and by lessons, like when you screw up as a human being, you are punished in some way, shape, or form. It might not be somebody screaming in your face about it, but it might be life kicking you because that's your punishment for whatever you've done. But just to take those moments and learn from them rather than sit in the boo-hoo, woe is me, now this thing has gone wrong, or I got yelled at, or my life has crumbled because of it. Because when we really look at moments or things that have happened in our lives, it's literally just a blip. The 3 to 5 years or 3.5 years of surgery that I went through and 5 years of trying to get back to a team, it's a blip in the 40 years of life that I have now. And God, it hurts just saying that I'm 40, but yeah, fact is, take those moments and learn what you can from them, but spend very little time beating yourself up about it and sitting in that woe is me. Just move forward and realize that, yep, all right, take your lickings and keep moving forward, because that's the only thing you can do. You can't control that anymore. It's happened. It's done. Move forward. Since I've started, and all of us still have the, oh man, that sucks. I don't want to be in this place anymore because of something that I've done or whatever. But the ability to get up and move forward and be productive after that is something that I wish I had learned a lot earlier in life.
Appreciate that, August. How about you, Len?
Just stealing a little bit from Steve, relax, give yourself a break. And that's for me I was a perfectionist at everything I did. Everything had to be perfect and everything had to look right and feel right, sound right. Everything had to be in its place. And if anything got outside of that place, I could have a little, I wouldn't call it a meltdown, but I could find myself dwelling on it a little longer than I needed to, which could distract me from so many other things, home life being one of them. Working with dogs, you don't get the luxury of A, being perfect ever, and B, the dog dictates a lot of what you're doing. And me being the way I was and some of the dogs that I had meant a lot of extra hours at work. Whereas having more patience like I do now, I would have realized I could have got it done a lot more had I just taken a break, taken a step back, came back the next day and addressed it with a more positive mindset. I wasn't like that. I was very headstrong and, hey, we're going to get it right. We're going to get it right today or we ain't going home. And yes, there is a place for that when it comes to people's lives on the line and things like that. But everything is not life-threatening. And I think the military and the way my mind was working at that point in time, everything could possibly cost a life is how it was like ingrained in my head is you make one mistake and somebody dies. You make one mistake and you might die. And I really took that to heart to a point where it almost felt like when I got blown up, it felt like a failure. It felt like I kept showing up at these places and talking about how, I don't want to say talking about how, because that sounds very conceited, but constantly trying to prove a point of how much better I was, how much more prepared I was, how much training I had put into it, and how I was ready to do all this stuff. And I still got hit. Instead of looking at it from a teaching standpoint of saying the people that showed up and saw, hey, this guy was one of the best to do it, and he still gets hit. Instead of looking at it from that lens, I looked at it from a failure lens of, hey, you're supposed to be this good. You're not supposed to get hit. You're not supposed to get caught. You're supposed to see these things coming. And so I carried that for a long time. And so I say that the number one thing is just don't dwell on it. Move forward.
All right, brother. Appreciate you sharing that about, there's just a lot of takeaways there for the audience. And we're getting to the point of kind of wrapping this podcast up. I'd love to go on for 2 more hours. There's so much. So we're going to have to look at doing another podcast if you guys are okay with this, because do another episode, because there's so much more I'd like to go through, as well as for the listeners, for you to kind of share with the listeners. Let's start with you, Steve, kind of wrapping this up. If this conversation reaches a man who feels, or a woman, who feels lost or alone, what would you say to that person right now?
I love you too. That's me being my absolute honest, sappy self. I love you too. I don't know you, but I love you. You're human. You have a right to live. I love you. I hope you're okay. You're human and you're worth it. To me, those are the words that I value the most in my lowest points in life. And so I hope that they, in their most basic, are helpful to others too. We've fought wars over love, right? And love has a timeline, right? But there is love out there, and you'll find love again. Yeah.
Appreciate that, because everybody wants to be acknowledged and they want to be heard. Appreciate that. Mitchell, how about you?
In the military, you got, when you're attacked, you're in the kill spot. And basically, the one thing that I would tell anybody is get off the X. Don't sit there and dwell, like everybody else has been saying, on that. You got to get off the X, get out of your own mind being, for me, and make a vector and go that way. Make a decision, do some action. And that's what Tony Robbins talks about all the time, where I listen to. It's, if you sit there and on the X the whole time, you're never going to get out of it. But if you can just make a couple strides one way, then it'll lead to more. And the web opens up, the more opportunities open up, and you find some new things that you never thought you would.
Great insight. Appreciate it. August, how about you?
I just first want to say that I don't know how, but I knew Steve was going to say that. This is, when it came out of his mouth, I was like, that is 100% Steve right there. Yeah. And he said it to us multiple times. And I've watched him say it to other people in several different occasions. I think we've all come across people that have been hurting, whether we really knew those people or not, or it just happenstance got thrown into our lives. And each situation differs for what that person's going through, how you see them. But the ultimate goal is exactly what you say is, look, I'm not comparing me to you. I'm not comparing anybody to you. You're going to have to run your own story. I like to put the power back in that person's hands, because by coddling them in a certain way, and I know coddle is like a taboo word that people don't like to hear, because it shows that you're not empathetic towards things. But I think there's a certain thing to somebody having their own strength, and I don't like to take that away from them by doing the whole movement for them. So if somebody's going through something and I see that they're super struggling, I like to be the one to be like, hey, look, all right, what are your next steps? And how can I be the one to help you get there? I'll be there for you, but I can't walk that walk for you. And I do my best just to build off of their strength, to show them right off the bat, like they already have the strength to move to the next step. I'm just here to help you and facilitate that movement. So
you're kind of like a coach to them, helping them, but they have to do the work.
Right.
Like that. Appreciate it. Len, how about you?
August, the life coach. It's a culmination of all three of those because they all touched on what I would say. Just know that you're not alone. You're not the only one going through some things, and don't be scared to share that with someone. And number two is, like Mitch said, we get off the X. If there's anything you're sitting there thinking right now, I should have done this, or maybe I'll do this, or if it brings joy to your life, just go do it. Just go do it. Who cares what people think? Who cares what people are going to say? How many people are going to look at you? Find a buddy that you're comfortable with if it makes you feel better, and just go do it. Just go do what makes you happy. Start there. Go do what brings a smile to your face, and worry about tomorrow when tomorrow gets here. Just go do what puts a smile. If that means you got to learn a new task and it takes a little while, learn a new task. If it means you need to go to the gym to get that endorphin release, go to the gym and get whatever it is you're sitting there thinking of, I should do this by the end of the day, or I would like to do something like this, go do it. Go do it. Just pick the keys up and go do it. Don't think about anything else. Make your preparations, your plans, and go do what you need to do. And I think a lot of people forget that we have those endorphin releases that can carry you to the next day. And you can do so many things to get them. Steve pretty much lives in an endorphin-filled environment, is how I feel, because I'm never more at peace than when I'm up in those mountains. So I don't know if it's the oxygen or what it is, but I think we all have lived that example of taking that leap of faith and just going and do something that makes us happy. And somebody's going to be there at the end to tag along. But just don't close yourself off to people that's trying to walk that same walk as you.
All right, that is a wrap for this episode. I'm just so humbled, and just a gratitude from you guys, and just your words of wisdom that you're sharing with others, that they can listen in and just hear the messages within this kind of episode. I want to thank you, Mitchell, August, Len, and Steve, for your willingness to share. And where can listeners find you or follow you? So if someone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you if you want to share, if it's social media platform or anything else? So Mitchell, let's start with you.
I've got an Instagram, Mitchell Kieffer _captain or capped. And also on Facebook, just Mitchell Kieffer. They can obviously DM me, and yeah, I can do whatever I can to help them point in the right direction.
All right. Appreciate it, Mitchell. August, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. I've got an Instagram. It's a Grog, the letter N, Angels. And honestly, I've got a Facebook that has my name on it. I don't really post anything anymore to anything, but
Got black stuff over his eyes, like,
yeah.
That's how you
not quite anymore. But yeah, I do read through my messages and stuff like that. So if I ever get anything, or if lots of people reach out all the time, then I do my best to respond and get back to them.
All right, Len.
Yeah, I have I'm not the hugest social media guy, just because I use it like a magazine. But if anybody reaches out to me, I'm pretty quick to hit them back. I have an Instagram that is all one word of who needs hands. Hands plural. So it's been on there since I lost them. That hasn't changed. And then I'm Len Anderson in Facebook. It's about the easiest way.
All right, appreciate that. Steve.
I have the pleasure of hosting a podcast as well with a very good friend, Dr. Mark Campbell, and we talk about nature and nature-based interventions. So you can find me on IG at Nature of Wellness. Just one word, Nature of Wellness. And natureofwellness.buzzsprout.com.
All right. Appreciate you guys. All right. That's a wrap with Mitchell Kieffer, August O'Neill, Len Anderson, and Steve Oterofor. And I want to thank you for being part of this special monthly episode, the Brotherhood Exchange on Men Pursuing More podcast. Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at mopandcoaching.com.